Hey, today I thought I'd show you just a few things that are going on our homestead. I'm going to do some scion collection. I'm going to be hooking back up our rainwater catchment system, at least one of them for right now. And a few other things that I just wanted to point out to you here real quick. This is one of my favorite times of year because it gives me a chance to once again watch the spring melt and how it's happening, to give me an indication of the different parts of our land and you know what are the drier parts, what are the sunnier parts, shadier, moister, etc. So like just for example, you can take a look at that and see the snow melt. And of course that snow melt pattern is typical of here based on our conditions, our easterly aspect, the fact that basically the way I'm facing right there is about south, actually right here south, but if we come up down here, now we're at east, so we're looking to the east right there. But since that the sun angle is basically working this way, all those trees that are blocking those areas, and so those are shadier much longer, and they're shadier throughout the season, and obviously then these areas are more exposed to sun and light, etc. So the melt occurs faster over here, and therefore these are drier areas besides some of the little microclimates. But it's always a good reminder. And in fact, you can see some moist areas as well, even in the quote-unquote drier areas. So we've got swales dug in through there. You can see. Let's see if I can point it out. This swale that's along here, that's a little bit moister, and then there's another swale that's along there that kind of feeds back into this seasonal flow and into those ponds. We've got a bunch of trees that are planted along that swale there, and so those are kind of like little microclimates that we've modified. All right, so let me show you a few other things. Here's one of our rainwater catchment systems. We've got this hooked back up for the year. During the winter, if we unhook all this, drain everything, and get it all set up and ready to go. I do plan on adding another 275 gallon. I would love to put a 500 or 1,000 gallon tank right here. I just can't right now. So I'm going to add one more of these totes. I've got another tote that I'm going to put basically right behind it, and then put these two together. And that'll double the capacity right here. And for this one over there, that rainwater catchment system, I'm going to put a much bigger tank over here. I'd like to go 1,000 or 1,500 gallon tank. And that will really increase our capacity, and then be able to irrigate our hoop house down there and the raised beds we plan on putting in, and maybe even some of this garden right here. Here's an interesting little find. Here's one of my little young fruit trees that I did some grafting on. In fact, I don't know if you can see it, but here's the graft right there, and that looks really good. So that was grafted 2 years ago, actually. But you can see in winter, what's common is we'll get some damage like this. And so what I'll do in this case is I will just cut it right there. And it's about the right time to do that in this spring. That's going to pop back up, and it'll start creating a scaffolding right there. And we'll see how it does. Here's a little bit of damage from winter. We had our fence here dropped, and interestingly, we had our espaliered apple here, and this was higher up about there, but it's dropped down, as you can see, where it's growing all the way on the ground. So I'm gonna have to fix that. But the thing I wanted to show you here is I'm gonna take some scion wood from this apple. This happens to be a Honeycrisp apple, and so I'm gonna do that. And then so here's an example. So we've got this wood here. This was last year's growth, right to there, and you can see where that 1 year growth was at, and then from down here, that's obviously 2 year growth. You can see where these buds are coming up here. So what I'll do is I'll take a few cuttings like this, and I'll bundle them, and I will label them, and I'll show you that. One thing I want to point out is that right now is not the best time to be getting scion wood. I'm actually a little late, and that's just because I've had other things going on. And a couple weeks ago, which would have probably been the ideal time for our area here, this was 2 to 3 feet of snow still, so it was a little harder to get around. But I'm going to grab some anyway. We're going to give it a shot. So in this another great example of scion wood. I can grab. There's old bear hanging out, sitting there. It's a great livestock guardian dog. Very, very good. One thing that's interesting is to kind of watch the first things that come up. You know, so we're early April here. Actually, tomorrow's the 1st of April, and everything's pretty much dormant. So like all of our trees. Little bear. Hey, buddy. But I wanted to point out one thing that comes up early on, and that's stinging nettle. And so you can see right here, there's stinging nettle, and that is a great first plant or so, and along with a few others that for foraging and wild crafting, and we use it quite a lot. So not only for ourselves, for cooking, for juicing. Oh, there's some more right there, a bunch more. Actually, this whole thing kind of turns into a stinging nettle patch around here. But we also use it to make fertilizer. So we'll take stinging nettle and comfrey and ferment it and turn it into a fertilizer as well. So, and there's some of the rest of our property there. You'll see a bit of snow around, but not much. Really melting fast over the last week or two. That's some rough winter damage right there, so I'm going to prune that off here. And this is another apple tree in our medicinal garden. And we're going to train this one to be small, and so we have these water bottles that we keep this bent down. So I'm going to set that back up, and then we'll do the same thing with that one. I want it to basically stay small. We want this tree to get no higher than about 5 feet, and just play with it and see how that goes. All right, so let me show you this tree real quick. One, I did that prune right there, which is ugly, and so hopefully that heals over. But I also have these branches trained. And what the cool thing about using water bottles is that you can, just take out some water and to lighten it up to make it the appropriate amount, and then of course you can adjust it left and right based on how you want it trained. For me, I kind of wanted it for now kind of horizontal on both. So yeah, we'll see how that does over time. Another plant you can see coming up, that's lemon balm. So that's another early plant in the spring. You can see it's surrounded in snow, and as soon as it gets a chance, it's going to pop right up. So those are just a few things that we have going on here. We're analyzing, we're watching, we're observing, we're assessing damage from winter. That's always the case. And, we're pruning. We're doing pruning anyway, but we're pruning off some of the broken branches and things like that. We're taking scion wood. We're starting to prep because spring is here technically, but the buds are swelling. We're starting to get some of the plants are starting to come up. Stinging nettle. I saw some walking onions, some chives, things like that. Lemon balm. A few others are starting to pop up, and it's gonna be in a week or two. We're gonna have a bunch more. So it's really exciting. Looking forward to this season. So do me a favor and tell me what's going on your homestead or your property. What are you doing now that it's April 1st, so it will be by the time this is posted. I know that in most places in the country, or in a lot of places in the country, spring's full on. I mean, people are planting and growing and all that. But that's kind of the nature of being up where we are. We get a late start, so we'll plant in our hoop house by the end of April for sure. We could probably go a little sooner than that. We could put in our cold frames a little sooner than that if we wanted to, but we don't get real caught up in that. So by the end of April, we'll plant out the hoop house, and then middle to late May, depending on what the forecasts are looking like, is when we'll plant out some of our other things. Yeah, so stay tuned. And like I said, let me know what's going on your property. Subscribe to our channel, like, comment, and let us know